Tov, Solel, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thanks for joining us, everyone in the sanctuary and on the live stream. My name is Zach. I'll be leading your service tonight. If we could start, I'd like to just kind of get things started and welcome Shabbat by singing Shalom Aleichem. Turn to page 189 in your Siddur. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hashem, Malachei Erev.
On this day we would see the world in a new light. On this day we would add a new spirit to our lives.
On this day we would taste a new time of peace. We would rest from desire for gain and worship of peace.
We would raise our eyes to look beyond time and space toward eternity. Oh, may we come to see the world in a new light.
As it is written, let the new light shine upon us, and may we have blessings to see its splendor.
Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kibshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
God is to celebrate time
rather than space. 6 days a week we live under the tyranny of things of space. On Shabbat we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share what is eternal time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
All right. Well, welcome Shabbat. I sing L'cha L'Odiyu. We'll continue on page 29.
B'nei Shabbat Mekala, Kohir Shalom Atzeret Bada, Gaham V'Simcha U'Sola, Tov Emunei Am Segula, Kohichala Kohichala.
Please be seated. All right, we'll continue with How Can I Sing on page 34. Rita, would you lead us there?
How can I sing of day and night when it is God who formed them?
How can I sing of heaven and earth when it is God who decreed them?
How can I sing of mountains and hills when it is God who planted them?
How can I sing of seas and deserts when it is God who begot them?
And how can I sing of earth and its fullness when it is God who made them be?
I shall sing to God who fashioned all and is beyond all. It is to God I shall sing. We'll rise for the Baruch Hu, page 36.
Yay, lai, 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 yay, lai, 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 yay, lai, 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 yay, lai, 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 yay, lai, 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 yay, lai, 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 lai. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. Okay. We'll continue at the bottom of the page in the Hebrew. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteach she'arim uvitunah mashaneh etim umachalif et hazmanim ומסדר את חוק החבים ממשרותם מפרקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ובני לילה, ומבדיל יום ולילה. אדוני צבאות שמו, אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. Hello. Okay. We'll continue with Ahavat Olam on page 38. Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Ahaveta mitzvot ukimu mishpatim otanu limahadeta al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shofenu tumenu nasiyat efukecha v'nismach b'divrei toratecha u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem hayenu ve'yored yameinu u'va'ed yomam v'layla nuke'yomam v'layla ve'ahavata al tasir mimenu le'olamim baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. As you can see, I did that a little bit differently when I was practicing at home. All right. We'll continue with Shema on page 40. Please rise in body or in spirit. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavecha ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם מאוד על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. Please be seated. We'll continue on page 42. Nicole, would you lead us there? Yvette, sorry.
I, Miriam, stand at the sea and turn to face the desert stretching endless and still.
My arms reach to the sky, and I want to sing the song rising inside me.
My mouth open, I stop. Where are the words? Where is the melody? In a moment of panic, my vision goes blank, and I take a step without knowing a destination. Will I falter? Will I fall? Will the ground sink away from under me?
The song still unformed, how can I sing? To take the first step, to sing a new song, is to close one's eyes and dive into unknown waters. For a moment knowing nothing, risking all, but then to discover the waters are friendly, the ground is firm, and the song rises again. We'll continue with Micha Mocha on page 44. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nura tehilot, osef ve'eleh, nura tehilot, osef ve'eleh, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la. As you redeemed Israel and saved us from arms stronger than our own, so may you redeem all those who are still oppressed and persecuted. We praise you, Eternal One, Redeemer of Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Okay, I need some help for this next one. So, normally when we do this one, Emma, who isn't here, she's in Ireland, so sorry for her. She does this thing when Hashkivino Adonai is sung. She kind of goes like this with her hands, okay? Okay, so I need people to help me with that because when we sing together, Hashkivenu Adonai, people could just kind of go like that with their hands. And so when Emma watches this later, she can have a little bit of a laugh. I told her I was going to do this, and she said, no, you're not. Okay. It's Hashkivenu on page 45. Thank you for your help.
You're welcome.
Okay, we'll continue with reading Bets on page 47. Why do we say our God and the God of our ancestors? There are two sorts of believers, one for whom faith has been handed down from our ancestors, the other has arrived at faith through searching and contemplation. In the first instance, faith cannot be shaken no matter how many objections are raised to it. But there is a flaw in this. Faith is passed on from generation to generation as part of our tradition, and so it may have been learned without thought or reasoning. The advantage of the second is that faith is reached through its own power, through much searching and thinking. But this faith also has a flaw. It's possible to shake it by offering contrary evidence. But the one who combines both kinds of faith is invulnerable. That is why we say our God because of our searching, and the God of our ancestors because of our tradition. Continue with Hatzi Kaddish on page 49. Yitkadah ve'yitkadah shemei Rabbah. Amen. Ve'amad yivrach yirutei v'yamlik malchutei. Ve'ayevonu v'yomechon u'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael. Ba'gala, ba'gala, u'bizman karoli, ve'yaru, amen. Yeshe Rabba mevorach, ve'alam me'amaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, ve'yishtalach ve'per ve'premon ve'yitnaseh, ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yitalach, sumer kudesha b'richu, ve'elam min kol b'chirata ve'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiram be'alma, ve'meru, amen. Adonai tzifatai tziftach mufiyah tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Sarah Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Rivka Elohei Yaakov Elohei Rachel Ve'Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor HaNorah חסדים טובים, וקורא הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואמהות, ולגאולה לפניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, לחיי יעקב אתה, רב הושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי יעקב ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים, רופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו משני עפר. מי כמוך על גבורות, ומיתו מלך, מלך במיתות חיי, ומצמיח ישועה. ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני, לחיי הכל.
Days pass and the years vanish, and we walk sightless among miracles. O God, fill our eyes with seeing and our minds with knowing. Let there be moments when your presence, like the softness of moonlight, illumines the darkness in which we walk.
Help us to see wherever we gaze
that the bush burns unconsumed. And we, clay touched by God, will reach out for holiness and exclaim in wonder, how filled with awe is this place, and we did not know it.
Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh.
Blessed is the Eternal One, the Holy God. Please be seated. Okay, we'll continue reading Gimel on page 55. Frank, would you lead us there?
One second.
Sure.
Where is the week vanished? It is lost forever. Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task of accomplishment.
Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom?
On this day let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day let me be free from the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide.
And now Shabbat has come. Can it help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time?
Can it contain the retreat of our hours and days from the grasp of frantic life? When all days abandon me, Shabbat abide.
Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this day, Shabbat abide. And on page 59, we'll continue reading Bet. I saw Jerusalem from Mount Scopus, and she was perfect and whole, little yet limitless, within her borders contained and yet uncontainable. Eastward the hills of Judah, wrapped in white and blue, are ministering priests, and silently they meditate blessing and burn the snail shell incense. And on the hills and pits the embers still whisper and burn, as if spice were being perfumed there in the twilight by the roasting of the sun's coals on censers of shadows. And all Jerusalem was for me like a single coal kept on the altar, that each nation and guardian might come and brighten it with tongs and take from it an ember. Baruch atah Adonai, Hazir Shekhinah Tzion. We praise you, Eternal One. We bring you Shekhinah to Zion. Okay, we'll continue with Modi Manachnu Lach on page 59 and 60. Modi Manachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai Eloheinu. Modi Manachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. Modi Manachnu Lach, She'ata hu Eloheinu. Modi Manachnu Lach, She'ata hu Adonai. Okay. And if you could turn to page 61, and we'll read Aleph. May it be your will, our God and God of our ancestors, to remove all wars and bloodshed from our world, and rather to draw great and wondrous peace into the world, Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. Lo yisa goy al goy cherev, v'lo yimdu od milchama. Rather, all people will come to know and understand the truth, that we have not come into the world for strife and war, hatred or jealousy, anger or bloodshed. We have come into this world to know you. May you be eternally blessed. Therefore be merciful to us and fulfill what is written. I shall bestow peace upon the earth, and you shall lie down untroubled by anyone. Let justice well up like water, and righteousness as a mighty stream. The whole earth shall be filled with knowledge of Adonai, as the water fills the sea. We'll continue together with Shalom Rav on page 63. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata hu melech Adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. V'tov be'necha levarech et Amcha Yisrael. Lechovet u'lechosa b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. Tasim Le'olam. We take a few moments to say the words of prayer in our own hearts. Okay, we'll continue with Oseh Shalom on page 66. Oseh Shalom B'Mimcha, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'amro B'nei Adam. Oseh Shalom B'Mimcha. Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'Yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'Yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'Yakol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu Ve'Yakol Yisrael. So to start, I'm wondering if I can have a brief show of hands. How many people here tonight have ever stopped themselves from sharing something about themselves because they were afraid to be vulnerable?
really everyone's hand should be up because it's a universal human experience. How many people have had the experience of when you have shared something about yourself, wanting to go back inside your shell, just kind of like, what have I done? Okay, so that's called a vulnerability hangover, according to Brene Brown. We feel ashamed when we're vulnerable, which is a bit strange. We try to connect, but we feel ashamed about it. But I think that's because our vulnerability is sacred. And when it's trampled upon, we remember it, and it's deeply wounding. I also think we're taught vulnerability shows weakness because it opens us up to being hurt, and therefore it's the opposite of being strong, but that's not really true. If you haven't heard of Brene, she's a best-selling author and researcher who's written and studied a lot about the connections between vulnerability, shame, self-care, and connection. She argues we cannot have connection unless we're willing to be vulnerable, and that there's actually strength in that. And actually, we have some good proof in our own tradition, because one could argue that God is actually the most vulnerable entity that there is, which sounds a little bit weird, because if God created the universe, then God is all-powerful, right? So how can God be vulnerable? But as anybody who's given birth will tell you, creation is an inherently vulnerable act. And we have Kabbalistic tradition as well, which teaches us that at the moment of creation, God contracted part of themselves to create a space for the universe in a process called Tzimtzum. So if God can do anything, then God has incredible power. But God didn't have to do that for us. God didn't have to make space for us. In making themselves vulnerable, God moved out of the way and allowed us the space to exist. So at that moment that God displayed infinite power, God also displayed infinite vulnerability and stayed in that space to connect with us after by saying, I made this space for you. You have to take care of it now. So in that way, God in that way is always holding space for us. The thing about vulnerability, of course, as we just already discussed, is that you can be rejected. And it sets you up for the possibility that you're going to get hurt. And in inviting those we're sharing with into our space, we're saying, come in, I want to be able to trust you. Show me that I can do that. God did that with us too by presenting us with the world and saying, these are your obligations. I've been reading Rabbi Shai Held's book called Judaism is About Love. It's excellent, by the way, if you haven't read it. And in it, he says, we don't have to do a single thing to get God's love. Creation is that. It's a gift. When we give, of course, we're vulnerable, and a gift can be rejected. And Rabbi Held writes, the difference, though, is for Jews, God says, in addition, we have to live up to that love. So that, as the Talmud says, for our sake, the world was created. So how can we do that? We have plenty of ways, but the Shema is one way, and it's arguably our most important prayer. In it, we're always taught, we're pledging to love and honor God, right? But what if we looked at the Shema as an invitation to connect? If we looked at it as an opportunity to not only recognize God's vulnerability, but our own. Because in saying Shema, we make ourselves vulnerable by saying we think something larger than us is responsible for the universe, or that exists, and that we're not its center. Just as God withdrew part of themselves so we could exist in that space, so must we withdraw part of ourselves by saying we're not the center of the universe and that there's something that's bigger. So in that way, you could argue Shema mirrors Tzimtzum, because we're making space for God. And of course, since we're all created B'Tselem Elohim, in God's image, we're taught to treat each other with respect and common decency. But that also extends to ourselves too. I bring all of this up because we're entering into a period in the Jewish calendar that's traditionally been called the 3 weeks. It's a mourning period that leads up to the fall of the first and the second temples, the anniversary of it, called Tisha B'Av, which resulted in our exile from Israel and our dispersion throughout the diaspora. And as Reform Jews, we don't place that much emphasis on the temple, since synagogue Judaism replaced the temple. But I think many of us have been connecting with Israel in new and different ways since October. And I think in some ways, many of us have also been in mourning since October. This has been a very, very difficult last 10 months for us. And that doesn't really sum it up. There aren't really actually words to describe everything that's gone on. We're in a very vulnerable situation, and Jews are no strangers to that throughout our history. But perhaps some of us are probably feeling more vulnerable than we ever have in our lives. I'm not talking just about emotional vulnerability right now, but just the inherent vulnerability in being a minority and dealing with a very old hatred. So it's scary, and those are really valid and incredibly valid feelings. But things are different from before in that we have state protections, for one, and there's many other ways, of course. But I think, as a people, we have survived because we know instinctively there is strength in vulnerability. That's why we say Shema every day, or one of the reasons. And I think that's part of why so many of us say it right before we die, at a moment where we might be the most vulnerable we actually ever have been, and will never be again. We remember that we've been invited into that space with God to make time to connect. So I have 3 invitations to everyone here tonight and on the live stream. The first is, don't be afraid to be vulnerable, to say what you're feeling, to state your needs, and ask for help and support. Create space for yourselves and for others by sharing. Honor and respect and treat each other's vulnerability as if it was your own. The second, approach your vulnerability as the sacred space and thing that it is, and take care about who you share it with. Lastly, the energy that you brought to Shema tonight, when you focused your attention, try and bring some of that to your week. When you're frustrated, happy, upset, angry, or marveling at something mundane, like a chipmunk running across the street, for some reason I keep seeing them everywhere. Or maybe you're beating yourself up over something a little or a lot, try and go back into that place. Give yourself some kindness and step in there in the moment. And remember that God was vulnerable with us too and continues to be. And there is infinite strength in that. I really hope it makes all the difference for you. I wish you peace. I wish you gentleness. And most of all, I wish you love. Shabbat shalom. Okay. Our thoughts now turn to those in our community in need of healing. Okay, I don't see the Mishubarak list yet. If you wouldn't mind just saying the name of anyone you're thinking of out loud, in your heart, and I look in your direction. Okay. We'll continue together on page 133.
Who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misherera imotenu, mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing, with Ruach Selema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I'd now like to invite you to turn back to page 80. We've been saying these words every week since October. I'm going to chant the blessing, Matir Asurim, bring freedom to the captive, in the hopes that those still being held in Gaza will come home soon, speedily. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim, Matir Asurim, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Matir Asurim, Matir Asurim. If you could turn to page 135 and rise in body or in spirit for the words of the prayer for the state of Israel.
Suri Israel v'Golo, Baruch Nat Medinat Israel, Hashamat Tifatein, Rock and Redeemer of Israel, place your blessing upon the state of Israel, reveal thy wrath of our hope for your Jewish homeland. Send your light and your truth to all its inhabitants. Spread open the shelter of your peace. Bestow insight upon its leaders, judges, and representatives, that they may pursue justice, freedom, and integrity. Visit blessing upon all your people Israel wherever we dwell. Plant the love of Zion into our hearts, that our footsteps may race to walk upon its soil. And may the vision of your prophet Isaiah soon be fulfilled. For Torah shall come forth from Zion, and God's word from Jerusalem. And let us say, Amen. Please stay standing for the Lenu. We'll turn to page 149. Aleinu sabeach l'adon hakol, la'atei kedula le'otzer b'reishit, asher samchakenu yached et shemo, v'gor aleinu la'alif malchuto, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech, malchei hamachim, ha'kadosh baruch hu, she'unotei shamayim ve'yosed haaretz, u'moshav yikarob ha'shamayim hima'ah, u'shmi natuzo, v'govei meromim, u'eloheinu einor, emet malkeinu efet sulato, kakatu b'torato, v'yadata hayom v'hashivota elevavecha, ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim, b'shamayim mima'ah, v'al haaretz mitzachatenon, v'lemar, v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu, yeyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. Please be seated. We'll continue reading at the bottom of page 155. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end war, for we know that you have made the world in a way that we must find our own path to peace within ourselves and with our neighbor. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end starvation, for you have already given us the resources with which to feed the entire world, if you would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to root out prejudice, for you have already given us eyes with which to see the good in all people, if we would only use them rightly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end despair, for you have already given us the power to clear away slums and to give hope, for you only use our power justly. We cannot merely pray to you, O God, to end disease, for you have already given us great minds with which to search out cures and healings, if we would only use them constructively. Therefore, we pray to you instead, O God, for strength, determination, willpower, to do instead of merely to pray, to become instead of merely to wish, that our world may be safe and that our lives may be blessed. Our thoughts now turn to those who have departed this earth. This week we are in Shloshim, the following: Faye David, the aunt of Rose Allen; Josie Pitch, the aunt of Shirley Herman. And we remember the yard sites, those whose anniversary of whose death falls this week. Joyce Lederman, the sister of Doreen Levine, aunt of Sean, Stacy, and Michael. David Somerset, nephew of Albert Amar and Sherry Amar. Annie Naomi Grossman, mother of David. Naftali Tulkarian, cousin of Rita Grossman. William Mackay, father of Robin Starudis. Judith Jacks, mother of Brenda Lewson, grandmother of Simon, Emily, and Zachary.
Esther Berkovitz, mother-in-law of Anne Marie, grandmother of Alexandra and David. John Black, grandfather of Rabbi Lawrence and Cheryl Englander and Stuart and Sandy Englander. Ronald Bowden, father of Chris, grandfather of Natan. Esther Sokolik, aunt of Carol Van Tyne. Jacob Goldberg, father of Eva Tradeway, grandfather of Jessica, Daniel, and Hannah. Sam Weisenbluth, grandfather of Emma. Harry Pitch, the uncle of Shirley Herman, and Jana Bailey, the grandmother of Diana Farber. Please stand if you're observing yahrzeit from this list, if you're able. So we might say, Min Hamakon Tina Hamum. May you find comfort in God's sheltering presence. Now, as a community, we all rise to support those who are mourning and to say Kaddish for those who have no one to say for them. On page 159. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'chaye d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'adalav v'zman kariv v'imur amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach le'olam omei amayim. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yipremon v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei kudsha b'rikhu. Le'ela mikol birkata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shalom rabba min shemayah, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oiseh shalom b'mromav, huyaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol b'nei adam, v'imru amen. Please be seated. Okay, at this time, it's my pleasure to call upon John Lewson, president of our board, for the announcements.
Thank you, Zach, and thank you for your leadership of the service tonight. Thanks also to Joel, our tech support, and to Frank as our greeter, and to Nicole as our shamus. Brenda and I are going to be hosting the Onig tonight in the social hall. I hope you can join us. And we're doing it in loving memory of Brenda's mother Judith, my Judith Jacks, and my father Jack Lewson, and my uncle Maurice Goldfein. For current activities, updates, and announcements, please subscribe to the Solel Facebook and Instagram. Upcoming events on Friday, August the 2nd and Friday, August the 9th, we'll be having Erev Shabbat services at 8 p.m. And then on Saturday, August the 10th, regular Shabbat services will begin again. And Tuesday morning minions will start up again on September the 10th at 7 a.m., followed by a light breakfast. We still need shofar blowers. So if anyone wants to learn how to blow a shofar, please speak to Mark Botnick. And if you're interested in joining a Solel group booking for a play on November the 3rd at the Greenman Theatre in North York to see Treff. And the matinee starts at 2 o'clock. And please let Arlene know if you're interested. And she's going to book a block of tickets. And I'm going to say that's where we're going to end. Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and to everyone joining us on the live stream.
Thank you, John. It's now my pleasure to call upon Frank to lead us in Kiddush. You can turn to page 163 and please rise.
Now the whole universe, sky, earth, and all its array was completed. For the seventh day God had ended the work of creation and rested with all work completed. Then God blessed the seventh day and called it holy. For with this day God had completed the work of creation. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei b'riah nafin. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon kinhilanu. Zikaron Maseh Bereshit, Kihu Yom Tehillah Lemikra Kodesh, Zecher Tziyat Mitzrayim.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone in the sanctuary and on the live stream, please join us for Oneg in the social hall. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.